Here's Brody Brazil.
I'll tell you what has become clear to me within the last several days is that things are about to go either one of two very distinct ways for the Tampa Bay Rays and their potential future at Tropicana Field. And maybe there's an insurance claim, and maybe there's an insurance payout for all of the damage done by Hurricane Milton, and within a couple months, they can do the repairs, November, December, fix up the fabric, fix up that Teflon roof, and they can play baseball again there starting in early 2025. Like, that is a possibility that insurance takes care of most or all of the cost of this to the point where there's really no big deal, there's no issues to take care of. But on the flip side, considering the age of this stadium, considering the Rays' plans to build a new stadium and be done with the Trop within the next couple years anyway, and maybe what the cost of this might be, and who has to cover it, and all the finger pointing between the team and government agencies, and insurance is just going to wipe their hands of this. Like, it could get messy to the point that maybe, and I didn't even think about this initially when it happened, but maybe the Rays have actually played their last baseball game at Tropicana Field. Like, we don't even know the extent of the damage. We can see the roof, but how about all the water damage inside? There's no drainage. How about all of the infrastructure and electrical components that were meant to be indoors? All of a sudden, they were outdoors in a storm. They are still unprotected. Here's what the Rays said in an initial statement. Quote, "Over the coming days and weeks, we expect to be able to assess the true condition of Tropicana Field. In the meantime, we are working with law enforcement to secure the building." And just so you know, the first Rays game is scheduled for March 27th, 2025. That's their home opener. They do have some Savannah Banana appearances scheduled for mid-March, I want to say. So there are other events at Tropicana Field, but they've got significant time. In fact, more than 5 months from right now until that first Major League Baseball game. And I do have to say, after some research, and we'll talk about the Metrodome and the Superdome in just a second, it does appear like if the money's there and the plan is there and the damage is not too bad to the roof structure beyond all of that Teflon tarp, that maybe they can repair this within 2 months. Like I said, have it be no big deal. Early 25, they're done, and all of this will be forgotten by first pitch of 2025. But we don't know yet. And we're also talking days and weeks until the team and officials can actually assess the true condition of the stadium. So don't expect there to be a decision made on this quickly, and do expect there to be some issues if insurance doesn't immediately just pay out everything, or maybe even insurance takes their time and delays, and then there's figuring out of who needs to pay for all of this in the meantime. Like, it could get a little bit dicey. There's also this reporting from Bloomberg, which says, quote, "The team's lease agreement at Tropicana Field stipulates that the Rays are solely responsible for the cost of any capital repairs, renewals, or replacements exceeding available insurance proceeds and the funds available in an escrow account that the team has been contributing to over the length of their lease," end quote. So Bloomberg, as a news outlet, is reporting that whatever insurance doesn't pay for in this situation, and as somebody who's had a roof replaced, and insurance said they were going to pay for some, and it was due to a natural wind event, and they didn't pay it out, I know this can get quite interesting. The point here being that the Rays are on the hook, apparently, through their contract and through their lease agreement. It stipulates the Rays are solely responsible. But don't you think the Rays are going to go out and ask as many people, as many entities of the government, city and county, Pinellas County, city of St. Petersburg, and say, hey, can you help us out with this? We need to fix this ASAP. But legally, just so you know, the contract stipulates it's on the Rays. Meantime, via John Boy, we're finding out that those pieces of Teflon tarp are being sold on eBay. People are going around and finding little pieces, $67, $100. Look, somebody found Tropicana turf, a piece of outfield turf. How did that come up in the damage of all of this? You understand that those roof pieces were flying around and could have ended several blocks away, but found that kind of a side story to all of this while it goes on. So it's not, in my opinion, it's not can they fix Tropicana Field. Like if somebody said, well, here's all the money you need right now, and maybe we don't know the dollar amount. Maybe it's $50 million. Maybe it's $150 million. Whatever it is, If they had all the money lined up right now, I have no doubts they could repair Tropicana Field and have it easily ready for the next 3 years, but we're at the end of its life. Is it worth it? It's not a question of can they fix this, but will they fix it because of the plans for the building anyway. So let's revisit some other circumstances. In Minnesota, they had the Metrodome, which was home to the Twins and Vikings for so long. But in 2010, in fact, I think it was the weekend of a football game that maybe they were supposed to play there and it got canceled or postponed. Maybe they played that game at Ford Field. I don't even remember. But December of 2010, that roof came down because so much snow was sitting on the top of the roof. It was accumulating, got so heavy, and that roof was held up by air pressure, it collapsed. And so the Metrodome had its roof replaced, eventually fully replaced, in less than 5 months. It was an $18.3 million cost to fix. And it's a similar material. Again, the structure is different because it was held up by air pressure. That's not the case at Tropicana. But it was a similar Teflon-coated fiberglass structure that they had to repair and ultimately replace. And the point is, we're talking $2010 there. So I don't want to go ahead and estimate a cost. And I said in a prior video the other day, I was just ballparking it $200+ million. But if it was $18.3 million back in 2010, I mean, instantly I think you can double that, if not triple that. Are we talking $60 million maybe just for the Teflon material, let alone the structure or any other repairs that the building needs? Remember, the inside of this building doesn't have, the Tropicana Field doesn't have drainage, because it was meant to be an indoor facility, and all of a sudden it was turned into an outdoor one. There was also the damage done by Hurricane Katrina to the Louisiana Superdome. It's now called the Caesar Superdome, I think. It's changed. Mercedes-Benz, it's changed names several times. But that's what the Superdome looked like after Hurricane Katrina came through New Orleans, and that was in 2005, and that was a $32 million roof job, and that was more about the external membrane of the roof. It wasn't entire pieces, we couldn't see inside the Superdome, which, by the way, was also built to withstand hurricane force winds, but it suffered some severe damage. But it only took 2 months to repair the Superdome, and they actually finished that job 40 days ahead of its scheduled completion. So it goes to show that when they set out to do this in a 5-month window, starting right now, but again, when do they even start? That's also of importance here. They can get the job done so long as somebody starts it on time and somebody has all the money to do it. But they said back then it was the most expensive roof job in the history of roof jobs, $32 million. I can tell you the Brazil house, the roof job here, was significantly less, so minus a lot of zeros, not $32 million. So what about temporary spots for the Rays? What if they do these fixes, but maybe it takes a little bit extra time? Or maybe if the fixes are delayed for a year, what are their other options of places to play Major League Baseball games? Well, you've already got the A's in Sacramento at a minor league facility, and maybe the Rays would move over across Tampa near the airport and go play at Steinbrenner Field. Once the Yankees are done with their, and I almost said Cactus League, once they're done with their Grapefruit League spring training season, they leave the facility. Maybe the Tampa Bay Rays go over and borrow the Yankees' home. Wouldn't that be interesting? How do you pay the rent there? It's Steinbrenner Field, spring training home of the Yankees. So the plus sides are this. It's located in Tampa, so your fan base isn't terribly inconvenienced. It's a major league facility to a certain extent. It's been the Yankees' home in Florida since 1996. It's probably the closest thing to an MLB-ready facility in the region. And yeah, there's a ton of baseball complexes in Florida. That's where they have half the spring training teams show up. But you don't have a stadium like that that's fully built out and a facility that's fully built out for Major League Baseball just sitting there ready to go. This one is probably as close as it gets. It's the biggest spring training complex and stadium in Florida. Got a capacity of 11,026. Somebody pointed out the other day that the Rays' average attendance from last year was only about 16,000 per game, so you're only short $5,000 a game, but how long can you do this for? And are you moving in for 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 3 seasons, 4 seasons until you build this new stadium right next to the Trop? And then is the Trop going to get demolished immediately? Does it just sit there? I mean, there's a lot of questions to be answered here. It goes in the weeds pretty quickly. Oh, you want to go deeper in the weeds? Let's talk about some other options for the Tampa Bay Rays. The Oakland Coliseum. Yeah, might just be sitting there. Olympic Stadium in Montreal, I don't know that it's baseball ready. Like, at least the Coliseum, as of a couple weeks ago, hosted baseball, and it could theoretically be 1,000% ready for next season. I don't know if the same can be said about Montreal, but there's always been that Tampa-Montreal connection, at least in conversation. Maybe the Rays could go share Lone Depot Park with the Marlins, although different part of the state, then you got competing teams. You can't play. See, this is the problem. You can't have the schedule. The schedule's already out, so you can't really do that. That's kind of a pipe dream. Same thing with Truist Park in Atlanta. You can't really have the schedules changed and worked out. The schedule is set. Too late for that. So to be honest, you know what? I'm going to cross these off. I don't have the telestrator here, but I'm going to cross these off right now. Those aren't possible because of the schedule. Then there's the wide world of sports complex in Kissimmee, but that's 90 minutes away. So now you're not even in Tampa proper to host the Rays, and fans can't show up, and it's a totally different experience. And yeah, I mean, it's a complex, and there's a stadium there, and it could do the job, but yeah, this is more of a dilemma than I think anybody's realizing right now. And I'll be honest, when this first happened, I thought, well, they'll fix it. Insurance will pay for it. What if insurance doesn't pay for it? What if insurance only pays for half of it? What if the cost is 3 times what anybody's expecting? What if there is damage to the steel beams and support structures of that Teflon roof? What if there's water damage inside that's going to take a ton of money and work to repair and replace? I don't know that we know yet. So I don't think it's a thing we can rule out that maybe the Rays have played their last baseball game already. We didn't even know it, but maybe the Rays have played their last baseball game in Tampa. And it's unfortunate that the fans are going to have to go through this, and just when they thought they'd play here for 3 more years, and just when they thought the team might start spending on the new stadium, and they just went through a trade deadline where a bunch of their players got sent away, rebuilding like it was supposed to be right around the corner from an exciting time, and now this. And it just adds a level of uncertainty and inconvenience. And now there's criticism of the Rays ownership, and maybe they don't even have all the money to fund that new stadium project, which has basically been approved, but now it's on the Rays to produce the financing for it, like their side of it. So it's getting interesting for the Tampa Bay Rays, and this only adds to that equation. You've made it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below greatly helps me and this video and this channel. Also, while you're here and before this ends, go down to the bottom there. Make sure that you are already subscribed to this channel. That way I definitely get to see you back here next time.